What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about things that Norwegians hate the most. Today, I want to take a look at this Reddit discussion where someone asked, how do you make enemies in Norway? Which basically means, what are the things that Norwegians really do not like people to do? And I want to take a look at some of the top answers to this question. How do you make enemies in Norway? What are things that Norwegians just do not like? Starting with, sit down next to someone on an otherwise empty bus. this is the absolute most classic. This is the example I hear the most about what Norwegians really do not like. Norwegians must really hate this. When someone sits down to you on a bus, especially if the bus is empty, well, that would be weird in the United States as well. We don't take this as seriously as Norwegians do. Not at all, actually. People will sit next to you on the bus, and it's not considered that weird or invading your privacy or personal space. But I think Norwegians take this to a whole nother level. But all Norwegians seem to understand this. All Norwegians respect this unwritten rule. But if it was a completely empty bus, totally empty bus, and I was the only one on the bus, and someone came and sat right next to me, I would think that's very weird. I would be uncomfortable, because that's just strange. The whole bus is available. Now, if the bus is kind of crowded, there's a couple seats here and there, I wouldn't think it was that strange for someone to sit next to me. Even if they could sit somewhere alone, it's not considered that strange. So yeah, a little difference there between Norway and America, for sure. My worst nightmare. Really? Is this Norwegian's worst nightmare? Someone sitting down next to you on the bus? It must be, because I hear that example a lot on the internet. Let's take a look here. What are some more things Norwegians just hate? Letting your dog poop in the ski tracks. Ugh, what? Oh, I've never heard of this. This is a very Norwegian thing. This letting your dog poop in the ski tracks? Like the ski paths? Yeah, do people bring their dogs out skiing? How are their dogs on the ski tracks anyway? How are dogs getting out there? Do Norwegians bring their dogs skiing? I don't even understand that. But if you do bring your dog, you shouldn't let them poop on the ski tracks. So you're like skiing in Norway and you're having to like dodge the poop. How has this happened to most Norwegians? Has this really been an experience? People letting their dogs poop on the ski tracks. My God, I agree. That sounds bad. You should not do that. Dude, he he asked how to make enemies, not how to get murdered. Oh my God. So this is really bad. Oh my God. They want to murder you if you let your dog poop on the ski tracks. That's funny. I've never heard of that before. That's very Norwegian. Very Norwegian problem. Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, in America, it's like, if you go out to a park or you take your dog for a walk, you're supposed to pick up your dog's poop. You're supposed to pick it up with a little bag. So, that's kind of similar, but I've never imagined dog poop while skiing. So Norwegian. All right, what are some other things Norwegians hate? Norwegians hate cutting in line at the grocery store. You will have multiple mortal enemies for the rest of your life and have to sleep with one eye open. I mean, this is interesting. Sounds like this is a very, very big deal in Norway. Cutting in line. Cutting in line, is bad in America. It's frowned upon, but for some reason, a lot of Americans try to cut in line. Not everybody. A lot of Americans are respectful about this, but it seems like inevitably, when I go out somewhere in public, if you're waiting in line for something, someone, some jerk, some American will try to just move in front of you and act like they're being sneaky, or just they pretend like you're not in line, so they just go in front of you. And then if you say something, they act like, I didn't even know you were in line. I had no idea. Oh, so, whoops. You know, but you know they're doing it on purpose. People who cut in line in America are very sneaky. It's very annoying. If you do it in Norway, you have multiple mortal enemies for life. Sounds like it's pretty rare in Norway. I think Norwegians are pretty respectful, like all things considered. Norwegians are much more respectful than Americans. I think cutting in line is more of a problem here in America. No one will say anything, though. They will just hate you in silence with furious glances. Oh, God. Yeah, so Norwegians, if someone cuts in line, no one even wants to say anything because you don't want to start some kind of confrontation or some kind of conflict. I understand that, but that's one thing I do like about Americans is if someone cuts in line, very often some other American is more than willing to start a fight over it and be like, "Hey, there's a line." And I'm like, "Yes. Yes, thank you." Okay, let's keep going here. Things Norwegians hate: messing with your neighbors, plant your hedge 5 centimeters over the line, like the property line, and refuse to move it when they find out. You'll have an enemy for life. This is all ways to make Norwegian enemies for life. Sit next to someone on the bus, cut in line, and plant your hedge on their lawn. Well, yeah, I agree with that. You should not be planting your stuff on your neighbor's lawn. That's their property. I totally agree with this. I think this would annoy most Americans. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is like very similar in America. This would be very annoying. Yeah. Unlike the other answers here, and this is a fact that will actually make you enemies in Norway. Okay. Decide to practice for the Tour de France, like a bicycle contest, a bicycle race. Decide to practice for the Tour de France on an 80 km/h road that is heavily trafficked for work commuters. Oh, decide to do this around 15:30 to 16:30 and be in the middle of the road. 15:30 to 16:30. What is that? That's like Norwegian time? Is that like 3:30 to 4:30? That's right when a lot of Norwegians are getting off of work, right? Okay, so this is very specific. This sounds like some Norwegian had a very specific bad experience. Someone was practicing their bicycle racing on a 80 km/h road in Norway that has all sorts of work commuters, people going to work or going home from work. And they decided to do this at the most busy time in the middle of the road. That is extremely inconsiderate. I mean, that would be straight up illegal in the United States. Is this not against the law in Norway? That's just dangerous. That's very dangerous behavior. I hope this isn't like a common problem in Norway. Oh my God. Let's take a look at a few more here. Things that Norwegians will absolutely hate: standing too close to someone at the bus stop. Anything less than 3 meters? 3 meters? Really? I've heard Norwegians like their personal space. We already saw that you don't sit next to a Norwegian on the bus. Whatever you do, don't sit next to them on the bus. But also don't stand near someone at the bus stop. I understand that, but 3 meters? Oh my god, that's like almost 10 feet? That is a huge amount of space. This is just teaching me Norwegians have a different idea of what personal space is. In the United States, personal space is probably about 1 to 2 meters. Right in between 1 to 2 meters. Yeah, I think that's true. Norway, you have to be 3 meters from someone. That is a huge amount of space. So that just shows a very big difference in just Norwegian versus American social customs here. Or starting a conversation with someone waiting for the bus. Really? You can't even. This is so funny because these are all things that Americans do. Americans love to start random conversations with people. I don't know, it's both good and bad. I think it's cool that Americans are so friendly and so open, but it can be annoying when you want to be left alone. And I think Norwegians would definitely find a lot of American behavior annoying. Like, people will talk to you at the bus stop. That's not uncommon. Um, you won't get enemies doing this. You'll be branded a weirdo. You'll be considered weird. That would not be weird in America. It's so interesting how different the expectations are in Norway versus America. So many of these things would be okay in America. Not cutting in line. That's not okay. But more Americans do it, I will say. Yeah. Other things Norwegians hate. Noise on Sundays. Noise on Sunday? Be a nosy busybody leaving aggressive notes to neighbors? What? That sounds terrible. So these are different things. Noise on Sunday. What does that mean? Noise where? Like noise in your neighborhood? I'll tell you, I've lived in quite a few places where there are Americans driving around the neighborhood just blasting their music out of their car. Like, it's like your whole house is shaking with some of the music coming out of these people's car. So, man, Americans can be so inconsiderate about how they're affecting the neighborhood and community. It's crazy. Norwegians, I love this about Norwegians. Like, be respectful, especially on Sunday. Is Sunday like sort of the weekend, a day of rest and quiet? I like that. I like that. I would like it to be like that in America. It's just, again, I don't expect it to be like that. That's the thing. My expectations are very different. Being a nosy busybody leaving aggressive notes, that's just weird. That just sounds like you have a really weird neighbor who's kind of mean. Oh my god. Leaving notes? Ugh. Uh, what do Norwegians hate saying, I love it here in Sweden? Oh no. No! Oh my god. This is the first one. This is the first one where I feel like this would actually make Norwegians genuinely mad. Like, you're almost trying to make Norwegians angry. If you go to Norway and you say, I love it here. Sweden! I love Sweden. I love being in Sweden. Like, when you're in Norway? Are you crazy? I mean, has anyone actually ever done that? That's crazy. That is true. I would expect Norwegians to hate that, because that's crazy. What are some more things? It's sad that most of the answers I've seen here are just interact with people. It's true. It's true. Do Norwegians find this to be true? Or is this an exaggeration? Because there's a lot. They're right. There's a lot of examples here that are just, hey, when you're in Norway, don't interact with other people much. Don't talk to them. Don't get near them. That's just a very Norwegian sort of thing about Norwegian culture. Norwegians enjoy their personal space and respect each other and don't like small talk. And I totally get it. I totally understand that. There's a lot of Americans who are like that, personality wise, but I would say the United States as a culture, we're quite different. We're much more social, we're much less respectful. You know, it's sad to say. Wear your shoes indoor at someone's house. Oh, this is something you should not do in Norway, is wear your shoes indoor at someone's house. Ah, right. This one is interesting because there are Americans who wear their shoes in their house, and there's Americans who don't wear shoes in their house. It's kind of random. It kind of depends on how you were raised. I don't like it when people wear shoes in the house. It makes a mess, it's dirty, you get dirt everywhere. It's not good. It's not clean. And it sounds like in Norway, that's the default. That's just the default in Norway. No shoes in the house, which I agree with. I think you won't get far doing that. Norwegians will just tackle you to the ground if you enter their house with shoes. I understand. I once said Kvikk Lunch is a glorified Kit Kat. That'll help you find enemies aplenty. A Kvikk Lunch. That is a very popular Norwegian snack, but you have to admit, a Kit Kat is very similar to a Kvikk Lunch. So I wouldn't be surprised if most Americans think that the Kvikk Lunch is copying the Kit Kat, and Norwegians probably say that the Kit Kat copies the Kvikk Lunch. I don't know which one came out first. They look very similar. I don't think you can argue with that. But apparently, Norwegians do not like comparing them, and because they're two very different things, I think. Especially calling a Kvikk Lunch just a glorified Kit Kat, talking negatively about that. There's no need for that. Like, they're both different. They're their own kind of candy, both with good things about them, I think. No need to be negative about either. Take away their Ostehovel. What is a Ostehovel? Take away their Ostehovel. What is this? Ostehovel? This is cheese slicer. Oh, this is a cheese slicer. Okay. Why would you take away a Norwegian's Ostehovel? That'd be like stealing. That's funny. Force your opinions on someone. Oh, I like this. I like this one. Because it's, again, something that's very different between America and Norway. In America, it's very normal for people to express their opinions and be very passionate about it. And Americans get into arguments a lot over opinions and politics, and that's been sort of normalized. I think in Norway, people are just more respectful and thoughtful, and you probably don't find Norwegians trying to force their opinion on you like you do in America, for sure. That's a great one. That's a big difference, yeah. Going inside the bus or train without letting people go out first. Oh, yeah. Again, it's so funny. Man, this is so funny. Because things that Norwegians hate the most, Americans do these things a lot. This is kind of bad. This is kind of showing me how messed up America kind of is in a way. Americans are definitely guilty of standing right outside the elevator door, or like outside the entrance to a bus or train, and Americans just try to pile in. There's no courtesy. Americans aren't the most courteous, especially in big cities. People who can be very, very mean, for lack of a better word. I love this. I love how Norwegians seem more orderly and actually like empathetic, like actually waiting for people to get out of the bus before piling in, and all sorts of stuff like that. I love that. This whole discussion was interesting because it really showed me something about Norwegian culture. Learning about the things that Norwegians hate really teaches me that Norwegians value order, respect, courtesy, personal space, and just how different that is to a lot of America, where, yeah, Americans seem kind of wild by comparison when I read this stuff. But that's kind of the fun for me, comparing our two cultures. I learned quite a bit about Norway here. This was fascinating to me. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your thoughts on things that Norwegians hate. That'd be very funny to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.